So I'm here. I'm recording with both of my favorite minimalists. So thank you both for coming back. And we were just talking like it's very rare to know a minimalist in real life, or at least someone that would identify as one. Do you guys know minimalists in your lives?
Yeah, absolutely.
Aside from the two of you?
I was going to say, I know.
I guess with the podcast, you're plugged in with all these people. But like, what about just friends and family around you? Like, have you converted people to minimalism around you?
Oh, absolutely. But not intentionally. You know, we lead by example. And so people see the benefits of our lifestyle and they start saying, okay, well, I'm going to pick up these habits too, because I'm seeing all the benefits in Lauren and Kelly's lives.
So you found that people have,
Oh, yeah.
and they've said to you, hey, I really like, how you do this. I want to do.
Yeah.
Really? But
Sure.
at the beginning, maybe, I think you said you were always naturally a bit of a minimalist.
Yeah, I've always been this way. I feel like some people don't necessarily know they're minimalist. They just like don't have a lot of stuff and they haven't necessarily labeled it. Like I feel like my dad was always never really had that much stuff, but he wouldn't like start a podcast on it.
I feel like for me, I have to like label it and aspire to be this label because I need something to counteract my tendencies to hoard.
That's good.
So like I need
hold
that
yourself accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need like to identify it, to label myself as it, to aspire to be it in order to become it, because otherwise I'm just not naturally like that. I'm a bit of a hoarder.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you have to remind yourself that that's your mindset, right? Minimalism really is a mindset.
Yes.
It's like, hey, I want to live simpler. I want to live with intention. And so you just have to remind yourself that every day.
Okay, so what I found is starting small, right? I started small a bit before I met you guys because I was interested in the topic. I wanted to learn more. And then as I met you guys, I continued minimizing my life. But I found the little things lead to much bigger things. And it's like a muscle now. And it's like a minimalism muscle that I can stress for like big things. Like I just sold a house that I was like, I'm going to keep this house forever as an investment property, but it didn't make sense anymore. But I remember that unwillingness to let go, the sunk costs, all this stuff I want to ask you guys about, that stuck with me. But I was like, oh, I've been here before when I threw out that t-shirt, like it was the little things that prepared me to get rid of a big thing that was way more time and effort, way more of a sunk cost fallacy in my head. And I was like, oh, it's a muscle. I get it now.
Yes.
Like you were just renting out the property? Or
we were renting it out, but because of interest rates, because of the income on the property, that property no longer made sense to hold.
Yes.
And so it was time to let go, but it was expensive to let go. It wasn't a winning investment when all was said and done. There was so much time and effort that went into getting that property.
But isn't it so nice to like have that stress gone?
Yeah. Yeah. It was no longer serving me.
Yeah. And it's like you get tied to it, especially being in real estate. It's like, oh, my real estate portfolio and my investment. But then when you realize all the stress and money that goes into it, it's so nice to just walk away from it. Yeah.
And I had to take a big bird's eye view of it and be like, does this make sense for me anymore? Yeah. And it didn't. And it was like, would I buy the same house today with all the same numbers and the same information? It's like, no, I wouldn't.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
It's like starts with a trinket and then you start liquidating your assets.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah. Because it had turned into a liability, to be fair.
Oh, that's good. But maybe you wouldn't have recognized that.
Yeah, totally.
I like the idea of a minimalist muscle. Like you really do build that over time. I always say that it starts with really tiny habits.
Yes.
And so, you do one thing and then you spend maybe 10 minutes decluttering one day and then you feel that accomplishment and then you want to spend the next 20 minutes. Yeah. And then you want to spend an hour, right? And you're going to be more successful over time. And it's going to be feeling such like you feel so accomplished over that time.
Oh my God. Right? It's the best feeling.
And so you want to do more, right?
Yeah.
Over time. And, but yeah, I'll let you go.
Yeah. So when you guys started this lifestyle or maybe labeling yourself with this lifestyle, were you guilty of, because I was, of trying to jam it down people's throats, and then you kind of realized, okay, lead by example, as you were saying?
You know what? I never took that approach. No? I was just always leading by example.
Just me then?
And no, I mean, I think you get really excited.
Yes.
Like, wow, look at all the benefits that I'm gaining from living this way.
Yeah.
My mom, for example, I started this podcast with Lauren, and she started sending me pictures all of a sudden of an organized cupboard, an organized closet. And she was getting so excited. And I wasn't telling her to do it. She was just doing it by herself because she saw the benefits that I was gaining each day.
So what benefits were you gaining?
Yeah, I mean, a sense of clarity, a sense of calm, you know, everything's organized. She walks in my home. I'll never forget, she walked to my apartment, my mom, and she goes, wow, it's so nice. I'm like, yeah Mom, because there's no clutter everywhere. There's no accessories everywhere. You know what's really interesting is I found when I moved into my first apartment, you know, you move forward with decorating your place in a way that, you know, a learned behavior from your childhood. So for me, magnets on the fridge, carpets are in, you know, just below the sink in the bathroom, around the toilet. You got your spice racks in the kitchen. Just everything's out in the open. And I just decided one day, well, after adopting this lifestyle, that I don't need these items. You know, I don't need these excess carpets that get dirty. My floors in my bathroom will be cleaner without them. I don't need spice racks on display. They're actually better in a cupboard to keep cool anyways. You know, I don't need my toaster sitting on top of my counter when I only use it once a month, right? So there's these things you think about. And Lauren, I'll never forget, there was one day Lauren's like, oh, you have all these, you know, picture frames and magazines all around your TV. She's like, just like move it away. So I got rid of all of it and I was like, wow, it feels so much better in here, like without all that clutter. And it's just
good look at it.
You know, we learned all these things from our parents, like, oh, you're supposed to do this when you decorate your place. And then you get rid of it and you're like, huh, this feels so much better.
Yeah, new perspective.
Less to think about, less around you, less to think about. And less you own, the less you have to worry about. It's great.
Yeah. Do you guys keep each other accountable like that? Like calling each other out a little bit? Like, hey there, Miss Minimalist. What's that magazine doing on that TV?
It's more like Lauren will say, oh my goodness, Kelly, I love how you have an empty open space in your kitchen or like an empty cupboard. I love that you don't fill everything. It's more like she acknowledges the good.
Positive.
Yeah.
And I feel like what's so cute about us is if we do get a new possession, we like call each other and we're like, oh my God, I bought this. I thought about it for like 3 years.
Such a luxury.
Yeah. So we definitely aren't like, oh, you shouldn't have bought that or that's cluttered. Like,
no.
Yeah.
Because we know we rarely buy things. So when we do, we get excited to share it with each other.
Yeah.
For sure.
So like, what do people notice about your lifestyle that they pick up on? They're like, it's just really nice in your place, or you seem to have free time, or, you know, like you're happy. Like, what is it that people are noticing about you guys in your lives that you're like, oh, cool. Like, what are you doing? And how can I do some of that?
Yeah. I feel like when I was younger, like in my 20s and I lived with roommates, they would be like, oh, you live so simply. Or when I moved in, I'm like, oh, I'm done. And they're like, what? Like, this is all your stuff you're bringing in? Or I remember when I was dating, like if I had friends over and they'd be like, oh, did you just move in here? Or I remember one girl came over and she was like going through all of my drawers. She's like, I need to find where you like shove all of your stuff. I'm like, I really honestly don't.
You're not going to find
stuff.
it.
So yeah, I guess there was like a little bit of that shock value with people to a degree, which I love. But yeah, I think people definitely notice it. And once they see the benefits, they're like, oh, like you don't shop all the time. You don't spend that much money. I do feel like now that I'm in my 30s, like I can see people who kind of like blew out their credit cards when they were younger and how I just didn't shop that much or have the desire to do it. So there's that benefit, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple of friends point out a few things. One being they tell me that I'm a lot more present with them. I'm a lot more calm and present and relaxed. And that says a lot to me. I'm like, wow, because I own less, I worry less, I'm more calm. And so when I'm out in the world, they feel like I'm super attentive and I'm really there and I'm present. There's that. And then I find that I get compliments on my outfits now because I have a smaller wardrobe. So I wear my favorite pieces. And so I feel someone the other day and then the day after, like, oh, you look very put together all the time. And I was like, oh, well, it's because my closet's really small. And so I pair outfits together that make me feel good. They're my favorite pieces.
Well, we've only met once before. This is the second time now. But from meeting you guys the first time, meeting you now again, and then just following along with you guys on social media, like you guys are very put together, very, very pretty, very like, you know, dressed well. you just seem put together. And it's, if somebody's listening to this that hasn't seen you guys or seen your social media or whatever, they may not realize, like they think you guys own nothing, but you guys, you would never meet you two and be like, oh, these people are minimalists. Like it's just,
yeah. And it goes down to that, like, oh, what's it called? When you like see someone you don't expect it. But yeah, we're definitely not just in like a black t-shirt and jeans. Like there's misconceptions. There's so many misconceptions around minimalism, and you can still like dress well and wear makeup and, you know, travel and go out and live your life. It doesn't mean you have to like shop all the time and have a cluttered space. So.
Yeah, it's cool because I don't know. I'm a guy, but as a girl, I feel like, you know, it's harder because you have all these different outfits and different types of clothing and occasions, and you're just way more dialed in on looking good compared to guys who would just, you know, maybe get away with the black t-shirt and the black pair of jeans and that's all they wear. But you guys aren't like that. And so it's cool to see how you're pulling it off.
Oh, thank you.
While still having this lifestyle. Like, I guess, for anybody listening, you wouldn't know. Yeah. Is basically what I'm saying.
Well, really, it's about owning what you need, right?
Yeah.
So you identify what you need, and then you choose the items that ideally last a long time. So you buy higher quality items. So we own less, but we own higher quality. So that's how we're put together. But it's so true, Lauren. People will come up to us and be like, really? You guys only own like less than 10 pairs of shoes, including heels and sportswear and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, we do. Yeah. We don't own that much stuff. Like Lauren does her makeup the same way every day. I kind of do as well. And it just simplifies things. Yeah. Like we have our routines.
Yeah. Do you ever want to experiment though? Try different clothing, try different makeup routines or what have you, different things in your life?
Yeah. I mean, we definitely can. And we definitely do. And admittedly, I am like one of those minimalists who wears the black t-shirt and jeans. Lauren always makes fun of me sometimes, but it's true. I do have that style that's very simple and sporty, but I do like to dress up sometimes. It's just about owning like the number of outfits that you would need for an occasion like that, like understanding your lifestyle needs. So I'm someone who doesn't go to fancy events all the time, but maybe once every couple months I do. So it is important that I have a couple of fancy dresses, right? And, you know, there's so many cool places where you can rent outfits as well. And luckily I have Lauren and other friends who are similar size to me. And so we can swap clothes and items, right? And I love the idea of secondhand these days because I find that when I buy something expensive, I get like overprotective and I don't end up even like wearing it more than once because I don't want it to get wrecked. And it's better that you just like, you know, buy something that's been worn before so you kind of care a little bit less about it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's never good to have an emotion of guilt with any possession. Yeah. Because you overspent on it, because you're afraid of getting it dirty. You know, like guys that buy like a fresh, you know, white pair of Jordans and it's like, I can't wear them.
Yeah.
You know, what do you mean you can't wear them? Like, what did you buy them for? Aside from maybe a collector's thing or whatever, but like, you gotta, you know, what are you doing? Like you're buying clothes you can't wear?
Yeah. Well, admittedly, I have 2 pairs of white sneakers, but one is a Converse shoe that I wear every day or almost every day, walking shoe. And then I have another pair that it's called, it's Adam's white shoe. And I wear it when I go out. Like when I want to look pretty and put together. Yeah. I wear that white shoe because I know that when I'm going out, I'm just going to a restaurant. I'm not walking through the fields in the shoe and getting it all messy.
Yeah, so you got a beater pair and then like a nice going out pair.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you intentionally made that decision.
Yes.
That's the difference. And that's, I think, the big thing I took from you guys last time was like minimalism is about intention, just being intentional in every area of your life. And now I really try to drill down into that, like every little thing to the point where it seems a bit anal.
Yeah.
Like,
it's good though. You need that. I feel like in this day and age when we're so heavily marketed to, and there's such a misunderstanding of minimalism. Like it's like, oh, like you guys are put together and you do your makeup. I feel like if you only have a few simple pieces of makeup that you wear every single day, then you're more likely to do it and be consistent with it than if you have so much makeup. It's like, oh, I can't even fathom going there and seeing what's still expired and seeing what I still like. And, you know, with clothes, it's like when you only own your best clothes, like you're just going to wear them. There's not, like I have friends who literally have separate bedrooms just as closets. Yeah. And every time I see them, they're in the same pair of sweatpants. You can't, you can't, they're never going to want to go through all of their stuff and find an outfit. So it's easier to just put on
Yeah, I mean, the clothing alone, like, it opens up your life in so many ways because you're not stressed about getting dressed. If you have like an event, everything's available to you. It's not like a 2-hour process to find an outfit and dig through the pile of clothes. And
and I try to do 20 outfits. So it's done. I just pick an outfit. About half are dressy, half are casual. So depending on whether I need to be kind of more put together or just more casual, then I can just pick one of those outfits.
And that's for everything in your life, 20 outfits.
20 outfits for the warmer months and 20 outfits for the colder months. It keeps it so simple, and every piece goes in an outfit. I never have to think about it. I can get dressed in less than a minute every day for any occasion.
Really? And you're just freestyling, or you have the outfits already kind of pre-planned?
I have them like taking pictures of. That's where they know.
Pictures of, really? Yeah. Oh my God. So you have like an album on your phone?
I have an album on my phone called Outfits.
Oh, that's so smart though.
It's so
because
smart.
Maybe it takes you a day to get all that together. And that's maybe a bit more than a day. But once you've locked that in, you've got that album, you're just swiping and it's like.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is, instead of doing that every single morning, trying to figure out what to wear and what goes with what, you do it once and then you can just pick an outfit for any given day. And when you're shopping, you're like, and I have a closet course, but
please talk about it now that we're on the subject.
Talk about it. But when you're shopping, instead of just going and being like, oh, this is on sale. Oh, I kind of like this. It's like, what am I going to wear this to? What am I going to wear it with? Coming home, like trying it on with other pieces in your closet, making sure that it actually fits in your wardrobe so you're not purchasing things at random.
Yeah.
But yes, I do have a new closet course launching next month. It's theclosetcourse.com. And I have a free e-guide on my website. It's just a quick questionnaire and it helps you identify your clothing needs if people want to download it.
Okay. And what's like the high level overview? Like, how do you help people? And what does the course look like?
So I do the course and one-on-one coaching for the closet, but the course is a 1-hour self-guided, like from start to finish. When you're done the course, you'll be done your closet, and it actually, you can pause the video. I tell you when to pause the video and go to your closet and like put together specific outfits, really hone in on what your lifestyle looks like, what kind of work you're doing, what your social life looks like, what you're doing on the weekends, really figuring out what clothes you need and then what looks best with what in your closet and putting together outfits for those occasions. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get the benefit of having Lauren come to my home.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I have to put together my fall-winter wardrobe soon, so you're going to take a bunch of pictures of me. Yeah, and I'll just have it in an album, and I can get a reminder, like memorize, remember what outfits you put together. So
I've got to tell Christina, my girlfriend, about this because she's going through it right now. I told her about your course and stuff, and she's been trying to declutter, but I think a bit of structure would just be helpful.
Structure and like boundaries, and it makes it so much better when you shop. Even like the fall, like it's turned cooler now here, and I'm like, I can't wait to wear my fall outfits.
I know, they're so much more fun.
Yeah, like I'm never like I gotta go shopping or do a fall haul. I'm like, I get to wear these new outfits that are in my closet, so it just makes it so easy to get dressed.
Yeah. Just in general. Actually, you know what? I want to ask you this because you mentioned dressing for your lifestyle and your work and stuff. Mm-hmm. Last time you said something, you were like, you have your fantasy life and your actual life.
Yeah.
And that one hit me because you have these little fantasies of how you want to live your life. And like, once I get a bit more time, I'm going to be doing this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'll have all the time to do this. So I need to hold on to this because then I'll have the time to do it. And it's a fantasy. And that's what it is. And you have to just like face reality and be like, this is my life right now. Yeah. Here's what I have time for. Here's what I actually do. And to dress for it, but then physical possessions, hobbies and stuff. Can you just like chat about that? Like fantasy life versus your actual life?
Well, when we're speaking of the closet, I think a lot of us have excess clothing for versions of our lifestyle that aren't true to who we are right now. For example, I used to work in the corporate world. So I had a ton of corporate outfits, blazers, a lot of clothes that weren't truly me, and I also didn't enjoy wearing. And then I started working for myself. I'm working for a run, and so I can wear sporty clothes all the time. and be comfortable, work from home. I don't need to get dressed up as much anymore. But when I go out, I like to wear a blazer or two, but I didn't need all that extra clothing from my days in the corporate world. And so I realized like, that is no longer a version of myself, and not specifically a fantasy version, but that's the old version of myself. That does not define my lifestyle today. And so I can let go of those clothing. Mm-hmm. And I know the future version of myself will need a couple of those items, but won't need all of those items. So I let go of those items. I think also a lot of people have a lot of women have a lot of dresses, and they're like, oh yeah, like I want to wear that to a cool fancy event. But then they have to realize, like, how often are you going to a fancy event? They might not have that in their schedule. And so they have 20 plus dresses that they know they're probably not going to wear over the next few years. And so let them go, sell them. You know, I think a lot of us, we get stuck on the fact, oh, it was expensive, so I can't let it go. Yeah. But you'll learn a lesson for next time, and you can probably get 50% of the cost of that item anyways.
And you know what? The benefit of getting rid of that expensive item is the pain that comes from it. Because you're like, the pain makes you learn. It makes you remember. And you're like, I don't want to face that pain again.
Yes.
But there's a reason we avoid the pain, because it's painful. But it's like just facing reality, like the truth about yourself, you know, and maybe the decision you made or whatever. But it's just the pain of that decision is worth the price to not make it again. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, if you don't face that pain, you'll just keep making that same mistake over and over again.
Yes, this goes back to the sunk cost fallacy.
Yes.
The whole idea that if we continue to put effort into things because we've invested a lot of time or money into it. You know, there's a lot of people that hold on to gym memberships, and because they've paid so much money already, even though they don't use it. They're like, oh, I should just keep paying because eventually I should use it. And that's the fantasy version of
the fantasy,
But they're not getting the benefit of all the money that they're spending. They're actually going to save money in the long run if they just stop that membership. Or maybe they can just remind themselves that they should go to the gym. But for me, for example, I had an Amex card for many years. And I thought, well, I need an Amex, but I barely used it because nobody takes Amex. I find. And so eventually I was like, I paid so much money. I was like, well, I got to continue to keep it because I've spent so much money over the years paying for the annual fee. And then my dad once said, he was like, oh, so why are you keeping it? And I was like, well, there's a loyalty. He's like, well, what are the benefits? What is the loyalty benefits? I was like, I looked into it and there's nothing. So I'm like, you're right. I should get rid of it. So I got rid of it almost 5 years ago now.
Yeah. Have you guys ever regretted letting go of something?
No. I love that question. I've never regretted letting go of anything. It feels so good.
Not even a single little thing like, damn, I probably should have held on to that.
Oh, I'm sure there's the odd time I've gotten.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe twice for me. I just remember that feeling, but I can't even remember what the hell it was. And it obviously didn't matter that much.
Yeah. I always say it's better to like let go, accidentally get rid of something than to keep everything you've ever purchased your entire life. Like,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like there's going to be mistakes sometimes.
Yeah, I'd rather make that mistake that I regret one time as opposed to
holding on to everything.
Yeah.
And I just want to go deeper with what you guys were talking about of like, you know, having this stuff and this dream life. I really believe in like, even with myself, just being aware and being in the minimalist world, it's like when you're shopping, especially online shopping, it brings a sense of self-improvement. It's like, oh, if I buy this, I'll be better. If I have a gym membership, then I'm someone who works out. No, if you just stand up and go for a walk, then you're someone who exercises, not having a gym membership that you never use. And I've realized just, you know, being in this world that actual improvement is not owning more stuff. That actually probably takes away from you. You have less money and now you have more clutter and more responsibility. And that like real self-improvement is like working on yourself, like educating yourself, learning new skills. Like that's what truly makes you better, not just like ordering stuff online to your door that we're like, oh, well, this will make me a better person. So
true.
Yeah,
very true.
People
very
get caught
true.
up in it.
Yeah. Because it feels like a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing the personal development course, but you're just procrastinating actually getting better.
For sure.
And going out and doing the work.
For sure.
Yeah.
When it comes to possessions, this is where people can get in a lot of trouble. You know, they start making the bigger paychecks, then they buy the branded items that they can't actually afford. But they're building this fantasy version of themselves, right? They want to be that person that has those brand name clothing, right? And that is a tricky cycle. You should, never attach your identity to your possessions. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that.
Yeah. Can a case be made though for buying like higher quality?
Oh,
and it's
yeah,
sometimes
absolutely.
those are the better brands. I'm not necessarily saying the designer stuff, but
no, I mean, we still own designer stuff. We always say like you can own nice things. It's just a matter of, are you going to use that item? Is it a need? And you know, if it is a brand name, it'll probably last a lot longer. So,
what about cost per wear? How do you guys kind of determine that?
Yeah, and I just want to say something. Don't buy so high quality that you don't want to use it. Like,
Yeah.
It's like high quality that it will last you a long time, but not that you like don't want to touch it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like for me, I will not buy a super high-end purse, like ever. I know that because I don't want to have to think about it. I don't want to have to worry about it. I'm someone who wants to live a lifestyle that involves a lot of travel. And so I don't want to have a lot of expensive items because I'll be staying in Airbnbs, right? So I won't want to, I feel like the more expensive the item, the more attached I am and worried about it. So it's less of a burden. You don't have to think about it. You know? You're like,
so true.
Only $100. Oh, it's fine.
Yeah. It's like if you have a brand new car, you're just worried about everywhere you park it, somebody dinging it.
Yeah.
Totally.
But if you have that old beater, you're like, whatever. Just ding it up.
And then eventually, if it
I don't care.
even if the nice car eventually gets scratches, you're like, oh, you're bummed out. But then after a year, you're like, you start caring less, you know?
Yeah. So I have a truck. I bought a truck 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I bought it new, and I never thought I'd buy something new, but the price was amazing. It was a new model that came out, and it was very cheap because of the pandemic and low interest rates. Anyways, it made sense, and I don't regret it a bit. But I remember feeling a bit paranoid about that, you know, dinging it. And then I was throwing something in the back, and I like scratched the little metal on like the truck bed, the tailgate. And I remember just being like, shit. But then I was like, it's a truck, you idiot.
And
like you bought a pickup truck for a reason.
Yeah.
So
it's a pickup truck. Like, don't be,
It actually makes it look more manly.
Yeah. Don't be a little girl about
scar.
it. Like, it's a pickup truck. You bought it for a reason. So.
And it almost like, it's like, okay, now it's scratched, so I don't have to think about it.
Yeah, now it's, oh my God. And then a guy hit me a few months ago, and I didn't care at all.
Oh, good.
Honestly, it didn't impact me. And he was at fault. I ended up getting paid for it, but I'm like, it's a truck. I'm doing truck things. I was like going from one property to another to do some work, like some renovation stuff. And I'm like, this is what it's for. It's a truck.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So true.
It goes back to that, the muscle, right? Just that muscle of just like, all right, letting go.
Yeah.
Being detached from your items. Yeah.
Yes. Being detached. The sunk cost fallacy. How do you guys stop that or think about that?
Yeah, I you asked this question and I was like, I love this because it made me think about areas in my life that I'm continuing to invest in that I probably shouldn't because I'm not getting the benefits out of them. So, yeah, I mean, I gave the example of my Amex, but there's also the example of I do admittedly have a couple of expensive items in my closet that I'm like, well, I can't get rid of it because I spend so much money on it. But then I'm just letting something sit there, right? Like, and it's taking up closet space. It's taking up mental space. It's not worth the cost of storing.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself this. So I need to sell it and just, again, learn and feel the frustration and
so something is coming to your mind right now, and that's like a lingering thought, right? That's been in your head, like in the back of your, and I have something exactly like that. It's a snowboard jacket. It's in the storage locker of my condo. We have one little storage locker for seasonal stuff, sports equipment, and it's a snowboard jacket. I haven't snowboarded in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and it's the fantasy that I'm gonna all of a sudden have the time to snowboard, and I'm not. And I'm going home after this. I'm getting rid of that damn thing. Because I know exactly what you're talking about. That thought came to my head. I'm like, sunk cost. And you've been waiting for the day where the fantasy becomes true.
And you know what? You know what's the most interesting part is like there's a lot of things that, you know, they're taking up space in our physical place or the space. They're taking up space in our mind. But the biggest thing, I mean, some things collect dust. There's all these things that come with keeping items that we don't use. But you know what's the worst? Is that sometimes the items that we're keeping are keeping us away from the lifestyle that we actually want to live. Like that's like the deeper meaning. It's like we have all this stuff, but it's no longer us and we need to let go. Like that jacket's no longer a version of you. Yeah. That's that fantasy version of you again. You just have to let go of it so you can go do other things. Yeah.
It's like I heard a good analogy once on a podcast, and it's like an old tree that gets rotten. And the structure is still there. Okay. And you think it's like this, you know, from the outside or whatever, it's like still there, like this organism, but it's dead. Like it needs to be burned off. And that's like parts of you build up just those rotten parts of you that no longer serve you or no longer part of your life or no longer needed. and you need to just cut off that dead rot and get back to like the true, to create space for new growth again, and it wasn't in the concept of minimalism, but
it's a great example.
Yeah, I thought it was a good metaphor for that.
It's so crazy how like attached we get to our possessions.
Oh, for sure.
It's so interesting. It's like, and again, back to my example of, I think the less we care about it, the less attached we will. Like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't take good care of our items. It's just, like don't spend too much where you care so much that it takes up, it's like mental space.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the mental space.
I always tell people too, I'm like, if you're so like confused whether to keep an item like your jacket, I'm like, use it, like wear it.
Yeah, challenge yourself.
And then that.
Oh my God, I don't even want to wear it. It's so ugly.
I know. And that's the beauty of it, is that it answers your own question. Or it's like, okay, well, I don't remember how to snowboard, or I don't know where to snowboard, or am I going to need other equipment or rent it, or who am I going to go with? And all these questions come up and you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to snowboard again. I can definitely get rid of it. So it's like, people are like, I need it. It's like, okay, then use it. And especially with kitchen appliances, they're like, yeah, I actually don't need that. So it makes it a lot easier to get rid of once you're like pushed in the situation to use it.
So do you recommend holding off on purchases for a certain time limit? Is there a rule you guys have for that to prevent yourself from making those spontaneous decisions?
Yeah, I always try to go back. I'm like if I'm at a mall, which I try not to go to, but even online, if I see something, I'm like, buy it tomorrow. Come back tomorrow if you really want to buy it. A lot of times I don't. And the times I go back, even like my toaster broke and I had to get a new toaster. I'm like, don't buy this one yet. I'm like, well, I need a toaster.
I love that you talk to yourself.
Like,
you're like, Lauren.
Yeah. But I was telling Kelly, like, I love, toast. Yeah, I know. I love going to bookstores, and I was in one and I saw all of this stuff I want, like an eye mask and this like journal thing for my mom, and I was about to buy all this stuff, and I was like, you need to leave the store right now. Like I literally have to get out of the store and remove myself, because it's hard. Like, you get caught up in the moment, and I'm just as like tempted as anyone else to buy stuff. I just try not to put myself in those situations where I'm tempted.
So sleep on it.
Yeah, sleep on it. That's a big rule.
Yeah, I mean, our friends, the Minimalists, they have a great rule, and that is if the item is over $30, just wait 30 hours before you buy it if you're not sure about it. If it is over $100, wait 30 days. And I love that.
Yeah.
And I also, I mean, they also have the combustion rule.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you guys about that.
Combustion rule. So if an item in your house were to combust, would you replace it? I think that is so good.
So good.
If you're like unsure about an item, like ask yourself that question. And Lauren brought something up recently on our recent one-on-one episode about letting go. She's like, if you have questioned an item before in your home, you probably should let it go.
Yeah. Because like the things that are an immediate yes, like you're not going to get rid of. I'm not going to get rid of my bed and my coffee maker. But like, well, knowing me, maybe. But there's definitely items where it's like, oh, should I get rid of this? You've questioned yourself a bunch of times. So yeah,
I know what you mean. Can you say the 30 rule again? The 30-day?
Yeah. So if you are looking at an item that's around $30,
okay,
but you're not so sure about it, if it's $30 or less, then wait 30 hours before you buy it.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. And I also have another great rule. So I think when it comes to selling our items, you should have a rule around it. So sometimes people are like, oh, I'm going to sell this. I'm going to put it on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. And then it just sits there for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then you just keep it because you haven't sold it. So I have a rule. So if it's $20 or less and it doesn't sell in 2 days, then donate it. If it's $50 or less, it doesn't sell in a week, I donate it. If it's over $100, I give it 30 days. And then after 30 days, I have to donate it. Like, I force myself, because a lot of people, they don't. They just let it sit on those platforms and they don't sell. And then they just keep it in their house and it collects dust, takes up space.
Yeah. And what's the value of your time,
Yeah.
Like, so there's this website I stumbled into last week. It's called clearerthinking.org, I think, or maybe clearerthinking.com. And they had a good quiz to help you determine the value of your time. So it's basically takes all your working hours and all your sources of income and how much you make and how much is actually going into like producing that money for you. So it's the commute, it's getting dressed, it's making your lunch. Wow. It's everything. It's really thorough, but it was only like 10 minutes to do. And it was the best one I found to like organize it, because I've tried valuing my time before and I don't know, it was just hard.
It's hard, yeah.
So this quiz helped, but then it also helped you value your free time, because it was like, how much would somebody have to pay you to work an hour of neutral work outside of what you're already working? Questions like that. And then so the final results it gives you, because it asked you multiple different questions, like how long would you wait in line to get something that was worth $100? And so you put an answer in. I think for me, I put like 30 minutes or something, or maybe like an hour. And so based on that answer, it was an hour for $100. That's what I value an hour of my free time at. But then it was like, how much would somebody have to pay you part-time to work an hour of neutral work? You don't hate the work, you don't love the work, it's just work.
Yeah.
And I think for that, I put like 75. And there was a few others. And then it valued what I value my free time at somewhere between 75 to $100. And then it valued what my actual working time is, which was less. But that's normal because you value your free time more because you just have way less of it. And then it gave you feedback based on your answers, like, okay, you really value your free time, because it was a significant spread for me, and try to free up more time for yourself, which I already knew, but it was really cool. So now I have those numbers in my head, and it was like, one of the feedback items was like, if an item's $20, you can't spend more than, I think it was, for me, it was like 20 minutes or something.
Okay.
16 minutes, something like that, determining whether or not to buy it or researching that product. You're wasting your time based on what you value your time at. It was cool. So now I have these like calculations in my head, like, okay, if somebody's not paying me $100 for that extra hour of work outside the jobs I'm already working, don't do it.
Yeah. Wow. And like also the cost of it too, no?
The cost of the item?
Yeah, because you said just the research you're looking at.
That was just the research. Yeah, maybe it's including the cost as well.
That's so funny. Someone like asked you for coffee and you're like $75 an hour. That's in my free time.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Depends how much I like that person.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm curious if this quiz is connected to Shane Parrish's book, Clear Thinking.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So that's, I highly recommend that book.
Okay.
This might be his website for the book.
Okay, cool.
I don't know.
It was just really good. 10 minutes. Yeah. Search up value time, clear thinking. And it was really worth the 10 minutes to do it. Because now I have those like economic calculations.
That is fascinating.
That I can make. Yeah. Like there's a real cost to it.
Yeah.
And there's opportunity cost. So that's the big thing with like minimalism that I found. It's like, what's the opportunity cost of selling that item on Craigslist? It's like, I'm going to get $20 for it, but is it worth my time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And with minimalism, like you just become more intentional with how you spend your time. Mm-hmm. So sometimes people are like, oh, can you grab a coffee with me at X hour? And the old me would always say, yes. But now I value my time a lot more. I'm like, okay, well, it's going to be an hour commute just to get there. And then we'll have coffee and I can either take the subway back or take another hour to get back. Right. And so I think about that time now and I'm more intentional. I'm like, oh no, like I have something coming up. So I should probably say no to this coffee because I need to prep for this. Right?
Yeah.
So you just become so much more intentional.
And how is that coffee going to affect you a week from now? Because it's like this chain reaction of events. Like I went for the coffee and I didn't get that thing done. Now I got to do it this day. And now I'm late. I didn't get to go to the gym here. So I feel like shit. So I got mad at my friggin' spouse because I felt like shit because I missed the workout. And it's like, you can trace it back to the coffee.
For sure. Oh, for sure. Or like drinking, if you go out and like stay out late drinking and then you like do nothing the next day.
Yeah.
I also want to go deeper into this. James Clear, I don't know if he said it or he quoted someone. I read his newsletter every week, but because it's like, how much is your time now? Because what if you're working on work that is actually extremely valuable? He's like, just because like wheat hasn't grown yet, like the grass is just as valuable as it is for the completed product. So it's like, if you're working on like a book or something that's very meaningful, your time is actually worth more, even if you're not necessarily making money in that moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The future value of it.
Yeah, the future value of it. Yeah. So that's hard. It would be I always joke with my friends. I'm like, I'm going to invoice you guys after if you can force me to come.
I should also add that with minimalism, I feel like there's a lot of decision making you need to make each day, just in general in life, but it makes it easier to make decisions because you have less stuff, there's less noise around you, but we still get caught up in the idea of like, okay, well, we got to be intentional. We become a little bit obsessed with that to the point where decision making can sometimes be challenging because we want to do everything right, So opportunity cost comes in here. It's like when you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something else.
Yes.
So you're constantly asking yourself, is it worth moving forward with this opportunity? Because this is going to end up, we're going to say no to this, right? So for example, I think for me, there was a point where I was like, oh, should I pay a little bit more for an expensive apartment? Because I want more space and all this stuff. But then that also means that I'm going to have less disposable income. So I made that decision. I have a little bit more of an expensive apartment. I have less disposable income, but that is the decision that I made. That was the best decision for me in that moment, right? So you have to ask yourself that question.
Yeah. It's just like economizing.
Yeah.
A lot of this I realized is economizing. Like that's why I really value now having those figures for what I value my time, because I can like economize my decisions. I can be like, is that worth, is that apartment that's a bit bigger worth the extra $200 a month?
Yeah.
And it costs me 2 hours to earn that $200. Would I spend 2 hours of my time, the most valuable thing, for that extra space in the apartment?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It just brings it down to like a time level, which is the most important resource of them all.
Yeah. And that's why I spent a little bit more on my apartment, because I was like, oh, well, it's in the best area and I can walk everywhere. So ultimately, I'd be saving a little bit, and it just makes me happy every day. So, right.
Yeah.
So you have to make that decision for yourself.
Yeah. And if you have a commute, like for me, I live pretty close to the office here, and
nice.
I pay more of a premium to be in Oakville versus another community. But for me, that time that I get back on the commute, oh my God, like I'd spend more.
Happiness.
It's the price of happiness.
It's way worth it. Yeah. And your energy.
Yeah. Some of these other rules I wanted to ask you about. Yeah. I think these were from the Minimalists, but these really helped me when I was starting out. The 90-90 rule. You guys know that one?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay. Can you describe that?
So it's the idea that if you don't use an item for 90 days and you ask yourself, you probably won't use it for the next 90 days, and you should probably get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I always say 1 year.
Same.
Like,
so I adapted that to 1 year. I'm like 6 months back, 6 months forward.
Like, what about a Christmas tree? Or like, there's things that are gonna, I mean, everything falls outside of it, but 1 year is, if you have not used it in 1 year, you're probably not going to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. So go back 6 months, go forward 6 months. If you're not going to use it, you're not going to use it. It covers, every season of the year. Okay.
You should ask yourself if it's worth the cost of storing, because you might be able to let go of that item. And if you only use it once or twice a year, you might be able to borrow it or rent it or buy it again.
Yeah.
It'd have to be worth the cost of storing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said you had friends that get the 2-bedroom apartments so that they have a bedroom for their clothes. Yeah. Like what's the premium on 2-bedroom apartments versus the 1-bedroom?
Exactly.
Is it $300 more in that area? Okay. So you're paying 300 storage fees every month. Is that worth it to you?
Clothes you're not wearing.
Yeah. For clothes you're not wearing, because you didn't take Lauren's freaking closet clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. The 25-25 rule.
I don't know that one.
Okay, so from what I remember, this one never really stuck with me, to be honest, but I figured I'd bring it up because these were helpful. If it costs less than $25 or less than 25 minutes to get that item, just get rid of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And that helps you with this just in case versus just for when kind of thing. Like all those just in case items. I'm going to keep toilet paper would be a just for when item. You're eventually going to use the toilet paper. Yeah. Maybe, right? You don't want to like overshop the toilet paper, but if you have a bunch, just keep it. But just in case is like, I don't know, my snowboard jacket.
Very true.
Yeah. And it's never going to happen.
You know what? Someone else could be wearing that jacket right now and getting so much value out of it.
That's the other beautiful thing that my selfish brain doesn't think of until I get rid of it. But I'm like, someone else can enjoy this now.
Honestly, it's the best feeling in the world. The helper's high. The other day, I have a little story. So I have a couple trinkets in my home, excess items. And the items weren't selling on Facebook Marketplace. So I was like, I'm just going to donate them. They were both under $20. Yeah. It was a vase and blue light glasses. So then I just put it on my apartment building's website. And I was like, hey, anybody want this for free? And I left it outside my door and someone picked it up. And then the guy messaged me after. He's like, thank you so much. Like, this is such nice stuff. And you gave it to me for free. And I was like, yeah, it's amazing. Like, you taking it gives me a helper's high. And I'm like, to me, when I get rid of it, it's currency. Like, it's less stuff in my space. So I'm like, yes.
More time.
It makes me so happy.
It's so funny. So on the way here, I was like, I just got these blue light glasses. And I was like,
oh, I shouldn't have got rid of
And I was telling her, I'm like, these are all the benefits. She's like, I just gave that away.
Oh, no.
And then Lauren was like, You said something really funny.
Yeah,
we were talking about, I was like, I don't want to have a house with a lot of expensive possessions because, like, then you worry about it getting robbed. And Lauren's like, oh man, like if someone robbed my house, I'd be like, oh great, getting rid of all my stuff.
The cops interviewing me, I'm like, I wish they took more. Like, what?
That's amazing. Yeah. I feel the same way about a big house. Like, I just don't want one because it's like now I have to furnish every room, and I'm not going to use most of it and clean it and pay for the house.
Yeah.
Heat it, cool it.
Heat it, utilities.
Though.
We really are.
Yeah.
We really are. I don't know why. I mean, part of it's like we can't afford that house, like our generation. Part of it's like we don't have a choice. But part of it's like I grew up in a house that we didn't need a house that size for my small family of 4.
So true.
And I just always remember thinking like, well, we don't really use that room. We don't use our dining room. I don't really want that when I'm like older, I don't want the fine china. I just want the plates I use all the time because I just want to simplify things.
Exactly.
So true.
Why is our generation like that?
Well, like you said, we can't afford it.
Just straight up.
We don't.
The boomers loved their big houses and all their stuff and their dining rooms
because their parents didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So they wanted everything that their parents didn't have. And having a lot of stuff showcased a sense of wealth back in the day. Right?
Status.
Yeah. Whereas we have status in a different way now, I think.
I feel like the high status thing now is like just freedom.
Yeah. Happiness, health.
Yeah. Like you're fit. You like your job. I don't know. I guess you have some extra money to spend on experiences and travel.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's how I view the world. I'm very freedom oriented.
And I feel like we're moving away from that, like, status of people who are just like, they make a bunch of money, but they're always working and they're always stressed out. It's like, oh, like maybe that life isn't that great. I feel like if you do something you really love and you're passionate and you end up like doing well financially, you just get to do more cool stuff and maybe give back in ways that are meaningful to you. But that's not the pursuit anymore.
Yeah.
You know, in my modeling years, it is a fantasy lifestyle that I lived, and there are pieces of it that were great, but I'm like, I don't want that life. Like, I want the simple life. I want to live. I'm happy to live in my little shoebox apartment, which to me isn't a shoebox size, but to many people it would be. And I love it because I can walk outside and I'm in the city and I get to see friends, get to do things. Like that gives me a sense of happiness. I don't need the car, the fancy house, the crazy trips. Like I had, those experiences in my past, going on those crazy trips and having crazy experiences, but I'm like, it doesn't make me happy. Like what makes me happy is a sense of connection with the people in my life, those relationships, those deep conversations. Like that to me is everything.
Yeah.
It's the relationships in your life at the end of the day.
Even Oprah, who's a billionaire, they interviewed her and they're like, what makes you happy? And she's like, I love just like reading a book when it's raining, maybe a fireplace.
Yes.
And I was like, man, I'm going to grab a book next time it rains.
Yeah. You live like a billionaire.
Yeah. No kidding. It's so true.
Well, all these rich people, they end up, I find, becoming minimalists.
Yeah.
They have it all in the world. Elon Musk lives in a tiny home.
So true.
Mark Zuckerberg wears the same hoodie every day. It's like maybe that honestly probably helped them get to where they are because they just minimize the things that don't matter in their life.
Yeah, less decision making. Yeah.
Less decision making. So that's honestly a big part of it. But also it's like you have all the money, but it's the simple things that are free often that are the best things in life anyways.
For sure. And I'm sure for them, like to a degree, it was like that intellectual pursuit that they're going after, especially if they're still living as minimalists now.
Yeah. But just the freedom to pick up and move. Like all these ultra rich people talk about the benefits of renting and not owning.
Yeah, for sure.
And not putting their money into like their house, but putting their money into like their business or invest in themselves. Yeah.
I have a friend of mine who had multiple homes and he was like, it's so stressful. And now he just has one home. Yeah. Like you don't need all that stuff. Then you have to take care of the home. You have to hire people. Like you have to manage those people. There's all of this added stress that people add to their lives. And it's like, the more money you make doesn't mean the more you have to spend and the more you have to do. Like just be smart. There's Warren Buffett. He's the third richest guy in the world. And he lives in the same home that he bought 66 years ago. And his big argument is that we should all live below our means.
Yeah.
And I agree with him.
Well, if you live below your means, you will always have savings.
Yes.
Your wealth will always grow.
Yes.
I mean, you might have it could be a very Spartan lifestyle, maybe. Yeah. I mean, you could take that to its extreme, but just that concept of like, if you live within your means, you know, you're always going to keep expanding your wealth.
Yeah.
And some people, they're like, oh, well, I'll eventually make the money back, or I will make it in the future. So who cares if I spend it now? But like, I'm the complete opposite. Like, I'm always like, you know, you always got to put a little bit away now because the future's unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you invested time. Like, you're just throwing that time away.
Yeah, that's so true.
You're like, I can always make it back, but you can't always get the time back. You can't get the time back.
Yeah.
That you spent to get the money.
That's so true.
Yeah, like we're just converting time into money
and
to buy shit that we don't need.
You have to figure out your risk tolerance.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so those are the rules that you touched on, the spontaneous combustion one, which I love.
So good.
And I use that for this house that I sold. I'm like, if this house combusted, you know, blew up,
go buy it, yeah.
Would I buy that same house again today?
No.
And I was like, hell no. And now I use that all the time. I'm like, would I replace this thing again? It's like, no, I wouldn't buy that stupid snowboard jacket again.
Yeah.
There's so many things. Okay, cool. So I want to like do a little rapid fire maybe.
Okay.
With all these different things. Get the full spread. So how to be a minimalist in all these different areas of life. Well, we touched on clothing a lot. Jewelry. How to be a minimalist with jewelry.
Well, we own the same jewelry, which is hilarious.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So we don't have much. I have a couple pairs of earrings, one necklace, and I have my grandma's ring. That's about it. That's all I own.
Just a few pieces. I could probably fit all of my jewelry in like the palm of my hand.
Yeah. Okay. So just
very few
less
pieces,
is more.
Yeah.
But
keep it quality.
If someone loves accessorizing and they love jewelry and they wear it all the time, then you can have more.
Yeah. If that's your thing, then own that.
Then own it.
Yeah.
Okay. Where you live, where you decide to live.
I mean, I guess that's the decision you're going to have to make. It comes back to like, how much is it going to cost you to live there? Are you like getting the value out of that city or that place? And then how much of your time you're going to have to trade, and are you going to have time to enjoy where you're living? It's like the big New York City thing. People just go there and work 3 jobs so they can pay for their rent, and they never get to enjoy the city. So what would you have to say about
For me,
that?
I just prefer renting. I've always been a renter, and I know that there's great benefits of owning, but for me, I ideally would like to continue to rent and live that Airbnb lifestyle if I can. Eventually, if I do own, I would want to own a property that I could Airbnb, right? So I have the flexibility to move around.
Yeah. So it's just the freedom that you like about it?
It's the freedom I like about it. You do have to manage the tenant. There's stuff involved in that, right? That being said, you can make a lot of money off a property. So there are quite good benefits to it. But if I were to ever invest in property, I would want to make sure it's an Airbnb because you can make a killing.
Yeah.
So many people are making so much money off their Airbnb properties.
And then so you'd have it when you live there, and then when you travel or whatever, you could Airbnb it for stints at a time.
I think I want to be a digital nomad for a little bit. So
yeah.
I love it.
I like it. Your kitchen. How do you minimize your kitchen?
Well, we have like very simple stuff, just like you were saying. You want to use your simple plates, utensils. You don't want your grandmother's china, nor do I. I've really simplified things in my kitchen. I know exactly where everything is. I only have a set of 4 of items. I don't need any more than that because I'm only one person, right? So you have to think about how many sets of utensils and whatnot do you need. I also only have the kitchen supplies out in a drawer that I use often. Everything else is in a little box in a cupboard in the kitchen because I don't need to look at it every day. You know, if you're not using a whisk every day, don't have it out in the open. Yeah. That's my mindset anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing I have out on my counters is a coffee maker and the soap dispenser.
Yeah.
Like otherwise it's empty. I feel like don't get caught up in gadgets. Like you can just use a knife or like simple things, chop things up. Like you don't need to have all of these different gadgets that do a million different things.
Yeah.
I always try to cook once, eat twice. So you're not buying as many ingredients and it simplifies it. I also just try to eat lunch and dinner. So I only have to focus on those meals instead of like a bunch of snacks and breakfast and everything.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just cook once a day. That's your dinner. That's your lunch the next day.
I do like dinner, and then I have leftovers for dinner the next night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I buy ingredients for 6 meals a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have it all pre-planned out?
I have it all pre-planned out. Yeah, it's so simple.
And like Sunday is your day?
Sunday's like my day I do my slow meal. And then like Tuesday and Thursday I do my quicker meals. And Saturday night I get takeout or go out for dinner.
Huh.
Yeah, we make a special trip to Whole Foods on
Sundays.
I
go to Whole
Foods.
A
nice slow meal.
That's where you don't have to do the go back rule as the grocery store.
You guys do the same thing? You're on the same?
Sometimes I
go
go
walk up to Whole Foods. Yeah.
So this is, sorry, you said 6 meals a week you're making?
Yeah.
And then you do
3 lunches, 3 dinners.
Okay. Are you meal prepping it all ahead of time, or you
no, I make it day of. I like it fresh. I'm not a meal prep person.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I could never get into it. I'd like the 2 days later, I'm like, that's grossing me out now.
Well, I actually thought about that. I spoke to someone recently about this, how like meal prepping, it's interesting. So some people will meal prep, but for me, I did the math and I was like, okay, so the cost of all the vegetables and all the items going into the salad, for example, it actually will cost me the same if I get a pre-made salad at X spot. So you should also do the math, like,
for sure.
But maybe you get a lot of happiness and benefit from prepping food. So
yeah, you gotta do what works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that though. The 6 meals. Yeah.
So yeah,
it's just way more intentional than what I do. I'm just scrambling every day. What am I making?
I can't stand. I did that for so long.
I also love Lauren's tip. She shared what is on her counter. So we only place items on our counter that we use every single day. So I just have one espresso maker and I have a soda stream. Because I love the soda stream. Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Well, it gives you the space to cook. It makes cooking for yourself really easy.
Yeah, and the cleanup's easy because you know that you just have to put everything away.
Yeah, and everything has a home.
Yeah.
And you just don't have to think.
And when you have less dishes and less like pots and pans, you have to wash them or run the dishwasher. You don't end up with like piles of dishes. So you're like forced to do your dishes. You're forced to do your laundry and stay on top of things.
Yeah. These things just compound because you're stress-free cooking experience that night.
Yeah.
You're eating something healthy. You're contributing to your health, your fitness, whatever. But then you're not all stressed out and behind on other stuff in your life. And like it all just compounds positively.
I made a beautiful bolognese last night. I'm going to have that for dinner.
Her fiance's so lucky.
Well, he helped.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Like decorating and stuff.
Oh, very simple.
Less is more.
Flowers when it comes to decorating. I used to have all these accessories around my desk in my place. And then my boyfriend's like, no, just move everything. And I was like, wow. I never thought about this. I thought I was being so minimalist with having a couple books and a few accessories on my desk. And he's like, you should just remove everything. So my desk is completely clear. Sometimes I'll I have this little vase and maybe a couple flowers, but that's it. So, however, in terms of decorating my space, I do like a bookshelf because I do value books. I do love florals, candles as well. Those are the only decorations I have. Only those 3. That's it. And of course, picture frames, some photos on the wall, some art on the wall, but that's it.
Plants, stuff like
that. Oh, I have
natural.
Plants too. Yeah. Plants too. I like the earthiness of my place is black and white with, tones of earthiness. So I have a fiddle leaf plant. And then I have another little plant beside my couch. That's about it.
I think it's just so important to create that zen in your own home.
Oh my gosh.
Because just life and the world is so chaotic that if you can just create your own environment to be this place of zen, you can finally chill out and your brain can like stop running a mile a minute.
For sure. What did you say, that girl who said every home should have white space?
Oh, yeah. I recently interviewed this amazing woman. Her name's Myquillan Smith. And she just released a new awesome book, and she talks about how every single home should have one thing. And that one thing is margin. In other words, white space, which we completely agree.
Yeah.
You don't need to fill every cupboard and shelf and have carpet on the ground. Like there are certain areas where you just don't need excess stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the shelf is a big one because as soon as you get that shelf, something's got to go on the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's mine for decoration. The day you move in, decorate it once. Like do your blueprint of your place and be done. Before I moved in with my fiance, I had a place and I decorated it once. And when I left 6 years later, it looked identical down to the pillows, the vase, everything. So if you just do it once well and be like, am I going to like this decor for like the next 5 or 10 years? Like do it in a way that it's simple. Don't do things that are super trendy, or like seasonal decor. I feel like that's such a big thing. Don't do that. I mean, you can.
Yeah, it was so
timeless classic design.
Yeah. So just do it once. And then if you're going to redecorate, do it when you move. So it's not a constant decorating thing. Buy flowers if you want to decorate. Yeah. Yeah.
True. Okay. I dig that. The timeless thing is just a big one.
For sure. And with clothes too.
Everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like everything.
Yeah. Like even I'm planning a wedding right now and I'm like, I need it timeless. I don't want to look back in these photos on 20 years. Yeah. Like, oh, and my kids are like, oh, that's so ugly. I'm like, that was what was in style. Like,
we see our moms in their wedding dresses. Yeah. We're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's what I've thought about, like my haircuts in the past. I'm like, I just want a timeless, basic simple men's haircut
that you'll like forever.
Yeah. Cause any stupid haircut I've had in the past, you look back and you're like, what the hell were you doing, man?
No.
You know, my earlier teenage years.
Oh my goodness.
Vehicles, transportation.
We laughed coming here because we walked to the ghost train, took the GO train out, and then we got a Tesla as our Uber, and we're like, that was so environmental.
We're so environmental. Yeah.
We both live downtown and don't have cars and walk everywhere, so
not needed for you guys.
Yeah,
not needed for us. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever own a car.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you can get away with it, right? Being downtown.
Yeah, unless I move to LA or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to get a car.
So only if it's necessary.
Yeah.
Okay. Kids' possessions.
Ooh.
Kids' toys and stuff.
Well, we don't have children yet.
Yeah.
But I know you've talked to like a lot of minimalists that are,
yes,
parents.
The minimalist mom, Joshua Becker. Well, yeah, and also my mom had a daycare for 35 years, so I was always around children. And it's for example, it's organizing your home so that every little toy has a home. And then teaching your children, okay, if you play with X item, then you put it back in that bin. And having things labeled is so key. But of course, and it's also for parents communicating to their friends, their family, that their kids don't need certain items, like especially like there's a first birthday party. A lot of people are like, I don't know what to get your kid. And then they get all these stuffed animals and they're like, we don't need stuffed animals. So it's good to communicate in advance, we're raising money for this charity, or Amazon gift cards are welcome. Something like that is helpful.
Is that how you guys generally handle gifts around Christmas time, birthdays, is communicating to the people who are going to get you a gift or want to get you a gift? Hey, could you get me X item or, something? Yeah,
I mean, sometimes it can be awkward to be like, hey, this is what you should buy me. Like I always try to ask them or be observational to see what they'll like, but it's hard. Like even I was at a baby shower and I just got them a gift card to Amazon because I'm like, you can just buy stuff you need for your kid off Amazon. I don't know what you need.
Yeah.
That's what I did too.
Yeah. You gave me the idea.
Oh, okay.
Well, she loved it. So.
Oh, I'm so happy about that.
We're going to start a family next year. So I'm really excited to like navigate the whole children minimalism thing because I don't want to deprive them, but I also like want to create this environment that's still super simple and teach them. I think Miranda Kerr said with her kids, she like with gifts, it's like if they want something, she's like, well, you can ask for that for your birthday or for Christmas, which I really liked instead of just constantly buying them stuff.
I like that.
My grandma, when I was a kid for my birthday, she's like, I got you a life insurance policy. I'm like, great, thanks, Grandma.
Yeah.
So maybe not that intentional, but
that's so funny.
Oh, no, good. Yeah, it's hard. I feel like with kids stuff, like it's unbelievable these days how much people get when they have like a baby and.
Yeah, and if it's not like an intentional thing or communicated out to people, it just becomes like a big gift-giving fest. Yeah, and oftentimes you don't even want the gifts, but you feel a sense of guilt throwing them out or getting rid of them, or you would never ask them to return it, or but it's just, I look at them like, it's just like wasted money that they could have saved for themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Or that had I communicated it, they could have got something maybe that I would appreciate. I mean, I do appreciate the gift. It sounds terrible. Yeah. Don't I sound terrible right now just talking about it.
I like that though. And it's sad because it's still their money. Like it's like
it's their money. Yeah.
We always try to be like, hey, let's just like all grab dinner for Christmas instead of exchanging gifts or spend time together. But it is hard.
Yeah. And if the kids are older, also showing them the value of $1, showing them, oh, this costs X money. Oh, I want it. It's like, well, you can't get it yet. So maybe you cut the lawn, or you do something for the neighbor, or you shovel the neighbor's driveway, and then you'll get $10, and then we can go buy that item. And then they get really excited and they learn the value.
Yeah. I'm sure both of you guys, you know, if you guys do decide to have kids or whatever, you'll lead by example, right? And they'll just adopt whatever lifestyle you've already
I hope so.
Yeah.
Adopted.
No, I want more stuff.
Yeah. There's probably something to be said too for just like giving your kid like some sticks and a rock outside and being like, you know, make your own game up. Yeah, right? Because you get like that creativity. Like
kids love that. They like. I feel like parents buy their kids so much toys, and then they play with like the toilet paper.
Oh yeah,
rolls,
yeah. So. It's the you just make the games up or whatever.
Yeah, or the empty yogurt cup.
Or like doing more experience stuff. It's like your birthday's coming up. Like, do you want to like go to a concert? Do you want to see a play? Like, do you want to like take a class? Or there's like so many things you can do than just buy your kid a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and that's the stuff they'll remember the rest of their lives.
For
right?
sure.
Those experiences.
Yeah.
Not like the friggin' trendy like Tamagotchi or Beyblades or whatever the heck the
Tamagotchi. I remember that.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe some of those things have a place still.
Yeah, the kid's like, my friend got this. I'm like, but they're not happy. They're like, what?
Okay.
That's more.
Yeah.
Hobbies.
What are some of our hobbies?
No, just how to be a minimalist.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just being really intentional with where you're spending your time. So for me, health is really important. So I really prioritize running and going to Barry's classes and getting my workout in, because I get the benefits of bettering my health, but also giving me that mental clarity to go into my work every day. Right. So that's like my main hobby is working out. I'm not working, I'm working out. But then also just connecting with friends to me is part of one of my hobbies. And then I'm trying to get back into drawing. I used to be a big artist and doing tons of pen drawings and just getting lost in it. And, you know, that flow state that you get into, that's definitely one of my favorite states to be in. So trying to get back into that.
Yeah, I would say, you know, don't do too many at once.
Yeah. And
like, I love to sail, and I'm really trying to like get good at cooking right now. So, you know, focusing on one or two at a time. And doing it because you genuinely enjoy doing it, not just because, like, I remember I was like, I want to be someone who plays tennis. And I would like go play tennis on the weekends, and I hated it. I would keep being like, go to get a drink of water just to check the time of how much time I had left. And one day I was like, I'm not playing tennis, and I got rid of my tennis racket. And so it's like, don't just do things. Like, if you don't like playing golf and your friends play golf or your colleagues, like, maybe it's inappropriate at that time, but like, it's still your life. Like, you should enjoy what your hobby is and not just be doing it because it's like what people do, or it's like a status.
Yeah, I love tennis. I play all the time.
Yeah, Kelly loves it.
Lauren's like, I'm going to play. And then she was like, secretly, I don't like it.
Yeah, and I had to come to that conclusion. I'm like, I don't want to waste my life doing stuff I don't like.
Yeah, man. So all these things basically come down to intention.
Yeah, but also from firsthand experience, Lauren would always like laugh at herself, being like, I have so many hobbies. I had
a lot of hobbies.
So that's why she's like, just choose a few.
Just choose a few. Because you have a lot of free time as a minimalist. Like, people are like, I'm so like rushed. I'm like, really? I'm bored.
No. Really?
Oh, I'm never bored.
I'm not bored, but like you definitely have time to read and like pursue things. So like, I feel like people are always like, you read so many books and you do so much stuff. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not online shopping and returning stuff, and like, I don't waste my time doing that stuff. So,
but then there's another extreme where, because you have this newfound space, because you have more clarity and more time back, for me, I ended up overfilling it. And then I have dealt with burnout while also being a minimalist. I still overwork myself, and I need to remind myself that I need to set limits. And, you know, the computer I work from is also my work computer, but also my lifestyle computer. So I don't know when to shut off, and I need to be better at that, right? I'm always like, there's always something to do. You know, there's always something to do to fill the time. But I need to realize that some of that time needs to be rest and recovering and doing nothing. Because doing nothing, as you said, is like, there's so much to gain from doing nothing, because you get to hear your own thoughts.
For sure. And I feel like hobbies are really important. I just read the book, How to Live in 24 Hours a Day. It's a very old book. You can actually download it for free.
Oh, cool.
But he's like, there needs to be things you do in your life that have no financial pursuit. Like, you just do them because you genuinely like doing them. Like, when I'm out sailing, and I sail as a group. I don't have a boat yet. I would love to one day, but just being out on the water, it's just water and sky. Like there's nothing more peaceful and meditative to me. And I'm not out there being like, you know what, I'm going to start a company where I, sell boats or like sail people around. It's just, I'm genuinely in it for the moment, for the like enjoyment of it. And it's not like a financial pursuit, because I feel like a lot of people, like everything they do is almost a financial pursuit sometimes.
I mean, all of our friends, our mutual friends, they're all ambitious, they're entrepreneurs. Yeah. And so I think Lauren and I always feel this pressure to keep going and pushing. So whenever we're doing a hobby or we have some free time, we're like, it's like networking, we should be figuring this out and making money and doing the next thing. It's like, no, just relax and enjoy your life.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Because I have the same problem.
You do?
How do you relax? Yeah.
Oh man, well there's so much more to gain once you've relaxed. You go back into your work with a better headspace, right? There's more clarity. And so you know what you need to spend your time on. I think that if you're just doing, you're going to spend a lot of time in the wrong direction, or you're going to spend more time on something that doesn't need your time. You should be spending your time somewhere else. So having that clarity before you go into things is really important. And also when you enjoy your life, you're just happier and people want to be around you. It's easier to build relationships and network. So
yeah. And you have the space for it too. Like sometimes like there's so many people in my life I'd like to spend more time with, but it's like, I don't have the space for it, which part of that's getting older, more responsibilities.
Yeah.
To be fair, but also as much as I can take that time back, I want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think so you're saying you don't have a lot of time to spend with all the relationships?
Not as much as I'd like, at least.
Like family or friends or both?
Both.
Yeah.
I'd say both. Yeah.
Do you think there's something in your life that you can let go of or subtract so that you do have that time back? Like, is it very important? It seems like it's very important to you that you spend time with those people. So what is keeping you from spending time with those people?
Yeah, part of it's like a paradox, because part of it is working hard now to build up the resources and the assets to give me time later on. But it's like knowing when is enough and knowing what that balance is of enjoying the present moment while also still building time for the future.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Because the more savings, more assets I can generate for myself now, that's going to give me time in the future. But that future is also not, it's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
So you have to like discount it. And like if you knew when you're going to die, that would completely change how you live your life on a day-to-day basis. If you have a week, I'm not going to be here in this office. If I have 3 years, maybe I'll be here for a little bit, but not much, if it's going to be 60 years from now, all right, I've got some more wiggle room for what I can get away with.
What if you went a little bit slower? Would that change things for you?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a race.
No, it's not a race.
Yeah. I always remind people of that because everyone moves at a different pace. I have a good friend of mine. She's a serial entrepreneur. She had a baby and now she feels a little bit behind. I'm like, it's only a couple of years until your baby grows up, and then the other friend of yours will have a baby, and then they'll be put behind, as you say in your eyes. But everybody starts and moves and ends at a different pace.
So she feels behind in relation to her friend,
in relation to like her entrepreneurial pursuits, right? Because she's a mom now, she's a full-time mom, so she can't be out there in the world. But I'm like, well, you can once your child grows older. Like, you're not missing out on anything. Like, everyone moves at a different pace. Like, you have to figure out what is most important to you, what your values are. So, people
that comparison bias, like whoever you compare yourself against is ultimately like what you're comparing yourself against.
Well, we're constantly, all three of us do it every day.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, all three of us push ourselves in the morning. We're telling ourselves, oh, we got to go faster. Like, oh my goodness, like I got to get this done. I got to do this. It's like, just relax. Like, what's the rush? Figure out what's like the most important, what is urgent and what is not, only a few things are urgent, not everything. So I'm trying to like go into each day at a more relaxed pace. Unless something's urgent, you deal with it, but otherwise just don't let it affect you. Like, we're not in a race, but there's so much noise, there's so much content, and everyone's doing all these great things. So we're like, we gotta keep doing, gotta keep pushing. But it's like, no, like focus your attention better. First of all, like if you want to pursue one thing, just do a little bit every single day, and you'll get there.
Yeah. You said that you can't relax.
I have trouble relaxing sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big thing for people. Do you know Eckhart Tolle or like? Yeah. He always talks about like being before doing, and I always try to remember that. It's like I think part of the meaning of life is to enjoy life. Like we're supposed to be here and enjoy it, not just like rush through it and get to the end. And like not to go too deep, but it's not a matter of if we're gonna die; it's a matter of when. So like if we're all just gonna be like dust in the ground one day, like. Who cares? Like there's got to be a point of like pursuing your goals, but like not at the expense of the present moment. And also like my goal in life is to my work to be something I would do anyways. I would do it for free.
Yeah.
And if you can get paid to do that, you will never have to pull out calculators and be like, oh, well, how much does it cost for my time? It's like, well, I'd be doing this anyways. So who cares? And like, I'm getting paid for it and I can pay for my expenses and save a bit. And I hang out with the people I want to hang out with and have the stuff that's meaningful to my life. Like that's like the peak, like the epitome for, at least for me, of like the perfect life where you're not like having all these calculations, which are good to be mindful. But then it's like taking a step back and it's like maybe finding, work where it's not like that, or finding, like I just said, it's like having things in your life that are not an intellectual pursuit and really sitting down and enjoying that time. Like it's life is not just money at the end of the day, even though and the thing about minimalism is that you don't need the money to buy all the stuff, so it lets you step back and be like, okay, I have time to do other things that have nothing to do with money.
Because you've worked through all of the excess in your life.
Like, so you don't do things to relax, or you're more like get home from a long day and watch Netflix?
Some days maybe, but pretty rare. Just sometimes if I have that free time, I'm like, oh, holy smokes, I have some free time. And then it's like, I don't know what to do with it.
And you feel it.
And I feel it. And I'm like, well, I should be doing something productive. So like, let me read like, a nonfiction book about something so I can learn something so I can be productive. But it's like, man, even in my friggin' relaxed time, I have to try to be productive.
We interviewed Celeste Headley, and she says that doing nothing is being productive. It's rest. It's important.
Yeah, it is really important. I don't think people realize that.
No.
I'm like that too. I only read nonfiction because I'm like, I gotta get better.
Yeah.
But then like I'm reading so much on health right now. I'm like, you should be reading on business. And I'm like, but I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is hard to get out of that mindset. I mean, it's good. It benefits you, but it's like, it's definitely hard to step back. And like even yesterday, I'm like, I should work. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go to Indigo and get a hot chocolate and walk out of the bookstore. And it was so perfect. And I just have to say this because I saw this quote on the wall while I was there. And the quote was, the purpose of life is a life of purpose. And I was like, see, that's why I'm here right now. I'm not working.
Synchronicity.
Yeah. I think a lot of us, we keep super busy all the time because we're avoiding our own thoughts. You know, and I even found myself in that trap where I would work and then I would take a break, but on those breaks I'd be listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
Because I want to fill the air, because I don't want to hear my own thoughts, my own negative self-talk, and my own stresses. I want to listen to light entertainment because I don't want to have to sit there alone in an empty room and listen to myself. But eventually I learned that it's important to create that space and just be with your own thoughts, because when you're with your own thoughts, then you can work through them and then you can manage that anxiety better. So I've learned, you have to be with the anxiety. You can't just like shove it under the rug. You have to like feel the feelings, feel it, go through it, and then you're able to process everything. So I think anxiety really comes from not understanding, like for example, people get anxious around things because they don't have all the information around the thing, right? And so it's that ambiguity that causes anxiety. But if we do the research or we work through our feelings, then that ambiguity gets taken away and we're able to go, we're able to breathe again and let go of that anxiety.
Yeah, you know what's weird? I feel I've realized recently is that a lot of anxiety comes from negativity. It's like, oh, I'm anxious about this. Yeah. But that's us thinking that it's going to be a negative outcome or a negative experience. Whereas if you are like, oh, it's okay, it'll all work out, like, not to be delusional, but maybe to a degree, and be positive, then that anxiety does go away. Like sometimes when I'm anxious, I'm like, what if your life was going exactly how you wanted? Like, how would that look? And I would picture it and I'm like, just live as if that's how it is, because that's what's going to get you there. Like you have to trust that things will work out, be positive. If things go awry, like it will all eventually work out. So it's hard though. I mean, it takes practice, but.
And then sometimes anxiety is coming from a place because you care about the thing.
Yeah.
For example, I was recently on a TV segment and I was a little bit nervous going into it and I was a little bit anxious, and my boyfriend was like, that's good. That means that you care. I was like, oh, that's so true. And I was like, yeah, but I'm getting so anxious where I feel like it's going to cause me to mess up, you know, some lines that I was practicing in my head. And he's like, but it's okay. Like you have your family, your friends, everybody who cares about you. If you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. Like, we know you tried your best, you tried hard. And that just gave me like a sense of calm. I was like, you're right. I got this. It's fine. And I can just be myself. So I was laid back and I was able to go into it in that headspace. So
you guys generally feel this calm? I feel calm just speaking to you.
Oh, really?
Thank you. I try.
So
It's clear to me that you guys kind of radiate that a little bit, which is good. I need more of that in my life. It's probably why I keep inviting you guys back.
We're like ducks on water. We just look peaceful, but under our legs are like
just paddling,
going a million miles an hour.
I always say that, like, once you have less stuff, you are forced to sit alone in an empty room with your thoughts. And I find that's where every individual gains some depth, because you go through all the things that are weighing you down and you let them go and you work through it on your own. And when you can do that, every other problem that arises in your life just becomes easier to solve.
Yeah. And I think we also need to question our anxiety. I feel like anxiety nowadays is just like, oh yeah, we're all anxious. That's fine. But it's like, well, what's causing you anxiety and can you get rid of it? Like I feel like stress that has arisen in my life. I'm like, do I have to continue to feel this anxiety and stress? Like, how can I eliminate it in the future, or at least minimize it to some degree? Like for your house, you're like, you had all these headaches and all these expenses, and it just made sense to get rid of it. And now that's gone, and that anxiety and stress around it is gone. So it's just doing that with more things that give you anxiety.
Yeah. It's clear that this like compounds, you know?
For sure.
Over time, the more space you have, the more space you can dedicate to working through these things. The more calm you are, the more space you have.
And we still get stressed out. Like it's not. I feel very calm today, though.
Lauren and I were talking through a question around, what would you do if you could start fresh with 0 possessions?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you guys that.
That question
discussed it on the way here.
Is so good, and it made me think. I was like, with what I know now about possessions, I would only buy items that I really truly need. I would also buy items with multiple functions. So universal items, like items that you can have money uses for, so that you don't have as much stuff and you have one thing that has 3 purposes, multi-purpose stuff. And I would just own less in my home. Like I would just have way less stuff. And yeah, because there's so much freedom that comes into that.
Because you'd be able to reset literally everything in your life from 0.
Yeah. And imagine people could do that and have the money back in their bank account.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Wild. Like, oh my goodness.
Mine's the same.
Pardon?
My bank account's the same because I never buy. But no, I definitely have made mistakes.
Yeah. I think it's, like we had to let go of all these learned behaviors and these items that we bought because we thought that's what we should have.
Yeah.
And so starting fresh, we wouldn't have had to go through that. Although there was a lot of lesson in that. There was a lot of lessons to learn in that. So, but yeah, today, if I could start fresh, I would just own way less, only buy what I need and buy multifunctional things.
Got it. So last week I pulled all my Amazon expenses for like the last 10 years. You can actually request your data. Yeah, if you Google like request Amazon purchase data, because they make it impossible to like get. You have to request it from them and then they send you an email. And it's like a CSV file, so I put it on an Excel spreadsheet. And then I went through and I categorized every single expense for since 2016 as like good purchase, like that worked out. Yeah. I'd buy it again, or you did good buying that, or you needed that at the time. Or like not sure, revisit it, or like bad. And what I noticed is like, as I started using Amazon back in 2016, 2017, 2018, it was like half the purchases were like bad. It's like stupid, like looking back, waste of time, waste of money. But then as time has gone on, it was like very few were bad. It was like all good.
Good.
So it was like, okay, cool. It was like a positive trend based on my own self-assessment of whether or not I wasted that money.
Oh, you're very analytical with like your time, and like you are intentional. Like you're doing all the research behind it.
Yeah. I'm trying to drill down.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work on this
stuff. Good. That like brings so much awareness to your life.
Yeah. Because it was it was just this unknown. And I'm like, how much, because I use Amazon a lot and it saves me a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how much money have I wasted because maybe of the ease of Amazon or the amount of stuff you can get there? I'm like, let me actually like analyze it. And like, is it a lot? Is it worse? Is it something I can improve on? And it's like what gets measured gets managed. Like if you're looking at it, it'll start like looking back at you. Like you're now paying attention to it, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One thing that helps me is not having the membership. Because then I have to pay shipping, and it really forces me to only buy things very seldom.
Yeah. I just canceled my Prime membership too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I put all my expense in, like, what am I spending every month? I made a budget. Yeah. Not a budget, but like I made like, here's my income. Here's all my expenses. Here are my fixed expenses. Here are my variable expenses. What's determining my variable expenses? I had credit cards with fees on them recurring every year. I'm like, cut all that out. Yeah. I had bank accounts I was no longer using, dinging me with fees. I'm like, cut all that out, cut it down to the essential. Like, what do I actually need?
Yes.
And then I look at it now like every week.
Wow. That's really good. That's really
great. Because I don't have enough free time right now because I'm working like a lot to make this money. I'm like, well, why? Like, where is it all going? I don't actually know where it's going. Yeah. So figure out where the hell it's going and then stop, plug the holes in the boat because you're leaking all this energy. That was part like the house. That was a big decision with the house. Yeah. And like, plug the holes and then retain the energy. Like, because it's like energy out, energy in. Where the hell is the energy going?
Yeah, no kidding.
I like that you were going through all your digital clutter as well, like your bank account, stuff like that. I just interviewed this amazing woman. She's the Marie Kondo of digital decluttering. Her name is Amanda Jefferson. Yep. And that episode is full of tips because there's a lot of auto payments. Auto payments are tricky. Like you want to be on top of that. I actually have in my menu bar on Chrome auto payments, so I know exactly which companies are taking money from my bank account every month. But Amanda has a great tip. I think a lot of us are overwhelmed by just spam emails. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She says all you need to do is search the word unsubscribe in your email, and all the companies that are, it's required to put unsubscribe when you send an email will come up so that you don't have to go and find them individually. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it changed my life. And then you can highlight them all and say like block before they arrive. So you won't even get them. It's amazing.
Yeah. So smart.
Very smart.
I'm constantly battling like, I want to sign up for this email newsletter. Yeah. It seems interesting. And then I get like 2 of them. I'm like, I don't want this.
Yeah, I know. I try with mine to like only send it if like I'm launching a course or like something very specific. Like I can't stand it when people email. Yeah. And it is hard because it's like, well, I still want to hear from you sometimes, but like not 3 times a day.
Yeah. And I think it's just measuring, does it give me like a net benefit? Yeah. Like, sure, I like the odd one, but there's so many that it's actually a net negative for me, even though the odd one is really good.
It's so true. I feel like there's been so many times, like I just switched brokerages and they're like, oh, you unsubscribed from us. Do you have another email we can use? And I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm like, don't take us in. So I'm subscribed to everyone.
Yeah, you got to guard your time, man.
For sure. For sure.
Although there's one email that I get every week that I highly recommend everybody follow. It's Shane Parrish, who wrote the book Clear Thinking.
Oh, okay.
He has an amazing weekly email that goes up. So many amazing quotes. Yeah. I look forward to that Sunday email.
Oh, that's like my James Clear. Like I'm like, oh, it's Thursday. I get James Clear email.
Yeah, I get that one as well. Yeah. I get this British guy, George Mack, and he just has these thought experiments, and I just love it.
Oh, which one's that?
George Mack. I think he's a marketer, but he has a big Twitter following.
Okay.
Interesting.
And he just has a lot of good, kind of like James Clear, like ways of thinking about life.
Oh, I'm going to sign up for that one. See, like it's like having ones that like inspire you and educate you and give you wisdom. Like that's beneficial to your life, not like, here's our new workout bra.
Great.
Yeah. It just clutters up. It's just constantly in every area of your life, things are cluttering up.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Mm-hmm. And having this mindset and this awareness of it is the first step.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we talk about minimalism. It's like getting rid of, but like half of it is making sure it's not coming back in and changing your habits, changing your behavior. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how good you get at decluttering. Like, you'll forever be doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys, you still battle it every day? Like,
oh yeah, and the maintenance piece is huge. Like, you have to make decisions every day.
Yeah.
You know, if one thing comes in, another thing must come out. So I have that rule for myself anyways.
One in, one out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's something called unconscious competence. It's where you just do things unconsciously. Like, you don't really have to think about it. And like, that's the goal of where to get to in minimalism. It's like, you're not like, oh, I want that, but like, I shouldn't buy it. It's just like, you just don't buy stuff you don't need. And you have your clothes, you know, you have your dishes, you have your towel. You don't go out and rebuy stuff constantly. It's like, if something breaks, you replace it, but otherwise you don't think much of it.
Yeah.
The
like
temptation is reduced. That's for sure. Way less temptation when you have an idea of everything you own and everything you need and the lifestyle that you want to live. Yeah. Than when you go into a store that maybe you love. You're like, I don't need anything. And it feels so good.
It feels so
good. It does. You're like, I'm good. And then by being aware of everything, you're aware when there's a big gap that does need to be filled.
Yeah.
It's like, man, like, I need a face cloth. I don't have any face cloths left. Like,
oh yeah.
You know, I don't know. That's how I feel.
When you run out of stuff, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this stuff. I love just decluttering. I love how it makes me feel. Is there anything else that you guys want to share with the audience? I want to obviously talk about your podcast. I want you guys to share that and stuff. Your Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to some degree, everyone can benefit from minimalism. It's, you know, even if you like stuff, like, figure out what stuff you like. Like, maybe you're like super into cars or super into jewelry, or like your art or your hobby is drawing, but it's like, you don't need so much stuff in every single area of your life. Like, decide where you want to have stuff if you're a stuff person. And there's just so much more to life than working and making money and buying stuff and just like being on this continuous hamster wheel. Like, you should spend your time and energy and, you know, money pursuing other things that are more meaningful. And I think you'll get a lot more back.
And I'll just add that minimalism is a lifestyle template. Everybody's lifestyle looks a little bit different. It's really answering the question, what are your lifestyle goals? And then figuring out what your needs are. You know, one of my favorite quotes of ours is, buy less, use less, need less. So the less you buy, the less you'll end up using, and then the less you'll end up needing because you don't have that item, right? And I love that so much. Yeah. Because I used to buy all these extras. I started making a better income, and I'd buy all these fancy shampoos and conditioners and all these other accessories that I'm like, I actually don't need it. Like, I can get a 2-in-1, you know, shampoo, body wash, all these things. Like, I don't need all these excess things. Another quote I absolutely love, it's by the minimalist T.K. Coleman. And I think it will help your listeners think about minimalism a different way. Minimalism isn't so much about what you have or what you don't have. It's about what you're willing to let go of in order to live the life that you actually want to live, right? You know, it's also, he has another quote which is great. Minimalism isn't so much about things. It's about the baggage you've accumulated over the time that gets in the way of the life that you truly want to live. So, yeah. And that's scary. Like, a lot of us live with so much baggage that is taking over who we really are. Like, it takes over our authentic selves. Like, for me, minimalism has helped me become my authentic self. Like, I can just be me. Like, I feel less pressure to buy expensive stuff, to buy excess stuff. I feel less stressed because I have less stuff in my home that's taking up my mental space. Like, there's all these benefits that come with it. And the biggest benefit is freedom. You just feel more free every day. It's interesting that we apply a word minimalism. Like, we're just living simpler, more intentional lifestyles. We call ourselves minimalists, but we're just, who doesn't want to live a simpler, more intentional life? I always say that. Like, who doesn't? Like, everyone must, right? Who wants to live a stressful, cluttered life? Nobody. So
apparently all of us, because we all struggle with it.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? No kidding.
We just have a barrage of marketing and consumerism always.
Well, I wish they'd market the right stuff to us. I hope that in the future we like compare ourselves on, it's like, oh, they're so well spoken, or they're so smart, or they're so skilled. I want to do that. Not, oh, I liked their sweater. I'm gonna go buy that.
Yeah, the
it's
intangibles.
like changing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just being happy with ourselves too.
Amazing. The Millennial Minimalists.
Yes.
On everywhere you can find podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah.
YouTube?
Not on YouTube. Oh, actually, yeah, on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube.
Yeah.
We don't have much on there, but we're mainly focused on Facebook, Instagram, and of course, anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, and the Instagram's great because of all the clips you guys do.
Yeah, thank you.
And the closet course is coming up.
Yes.
Yeah, very
October.
interesting. October.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
cool.
there's a free e-guide, theclosetcourse.com. It just helps. It's a questionnaire that helps you recognize what clothes you actually need in your closet.
Okay, maybe this is obvious, but as a guy, could I do that course? And
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right. I did it to my fiance, and he was like, "Oh my god, I didn't realize like how many clothes I had in my closet I need." And he's like wears a suit to work, but then he's like, "I didn't know what to wear on the weekend. Like I need to update my casual style." So
is he dialed in now? He's got all his
he's dialed in.
outfits. Does he have the album?
He has his outfits.
Yeah.
So cute.
So cute. I gotta see this. Oh my goodness.
He has the album and everything with the
He has
pictures.
his little album in his phone. Yep.
Oh.
And he's probably loving that.
He's loving it.
Yeah.
I wish I could pare it down a bit more, but I don't push.
You
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to push too much.
But so he has the same thing, like the whatever number of outfits for.
He has his like casual and dressy. He definitely kept a few more pieces, but I don't push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lead by example.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love
And
it.
you can learn more about Lauren and I on our website, mastersimplicity.com.
Okay.
And we're on Instagram and Facebook, we're at Millennial Minimalists. I know it's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's like any boomer minimalists out there.
There are many. There are many that actually follow us. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, guys. Thank you so much for coming in again. I really appreciate it. I get so much from these conversations with you guys. So
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you. We love
get
coming.
so much from you too.
Yeah.
Love
Oh,
it.
I love hearing about your journey. It makes me so happy that people want to live this lifestyle and that we're not just weird.
Oh my gosh.
no, because ultimately, like you said, it gets rid of all the baggage that gets
Yeah.
in the way of the actual lifestyle I want, which
Yeah.
is day after day have gotten closer and closer and closer to. But it's I'm not at a point where I can step back and be like, I'm living my exact dream life.
Yeah.
But it's a work in
But
progress.
I feel like we'll never get there.
No, and there's always
Yeah.
something to improve on.
For sure.
Um,
But you've improved so much, like even in the last year, like seeing all the changes, and you're so much more intentional in all the work you've done, even just to like recognize where your time and money's going. It's incredible.
yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
You're
really
welcome.
nice
That.
to see.
Yeah.
A
Oh,
lot of
awesome.
growth.
Yeah. Thanks to us.
Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
I'm your loyal student. Loyal student.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate it.